All right, here we go. We got the legendary MC Shan in the building. Now, there have been a lot of MCs from Queensbridge, but I feel like you're the one that really put Queensbridge on the map. So tell me what it was like growing up in Queensbridge projects during that time.
Well, at that time, it was just growing up, you know what I'm saying? Any normal hood in America. But a lot of things went on out in Queensbridge that a lot of people don't know. We used to always have the park jams with the Disco Twins. Flash and Marley Marl used to always come to the Reese Center. And at that point, I was way too young to even get in Reese Center. So I would listen, my window to my bedroom faced the Reese Center. So I would listen a lot. You know, I wasn't able to go outside at them points. And it was just like every hood in America, you got things that go on. When the park jam and the shooting start, pew, let's get it. You got to run.
Yeah. Like how violent was it back then? Because, I mean, this was before the crack era or during the crack era?
This was before, long before. But it was like if you came to Queensbridge and thought that you was just going to come to Queensbridge just like that, I'm not going to mention names, but people know who I'm talking about. You would get stuck up or whatever. You think you're going to leave with that sheepskin and them earrings, shawty, you not leaving with them. And it's crazy because Queensbridge faced the river. It was like this way, everything, that way, the river. And lots of times the cats would be trying to run thinking they getting away. And a few cats got through in the river, you know what I'm saying? So it was like real wild back then. It was wild. It was wild, wild west in Queensbridge, for real.
I feel you. Now, how did you initially get into rapping?
Well, how I got into rap, that's a funny story. Because we used to be in Queensbridge on the benches just rhyming, you know, freestyling. And the next thing you know, Roxanne Shante got a record, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. I kind of taught her how to do this, so I think I can do it too. And so what I did was I went and I wrote Marley Scratch on a paper bag. A brown paper bag back in the days. I said, I got to get this to Marley. So I went to Marley and I told him the rhyme that I had. And from that point on, Shantae took me on tour. And I was out on tour for like 6 months with no records singing Marley Scratch across the country. But I was singing Marley Scratch with one of the biggest hip hop artists of the time.
Okay, and Marley Marl is your cousin?
In a roundabout way through family. You know, okay. Marriage, you know.
Yeah, cousin-in-law, I guess.
Right, that's what we got, cousin-in-law.
Cousin-in-law. Okay, so you were already connected to Marley Marl, and
we didn't find that out until after when we go see Uncle Lucius. Like, that's your Uncle Lucius? That's my Uncle Lucius. You know what I'm saying? Lucius Benson, a great boxer, ran Elm Call Center out in Elmhurst. But we found out through that way. But before, all I knew of Marley Marl was he was the one that was on the radio with Mr. Magic, because I used to listen to the Rap Attack long before I started into this rap game. I was one of those that would tape the Mr. Magic Rap Attack on the radio, not knowing that further down the line I'd be the one in Mr. Magic Rap Attack answering the phones, talking about, hello, it's Super Rocket Mr. Magic Rap Attack.
Okay, so you write your first rap, you're touring around with Roxanne Shante. How long after that do you get your first record deal with MCA?
Well, MCA wasn't my first record deal. My first record deal was on Nia Records with the Eileen Brothers. That's when Marley Scratch came out. And then MCA came along through, I forgot her name. They wanted a rap artist to do a Feed the World. And so since I was affiliated with BLS, Magic, and Marley, they came to me to do it. And what they wanted to do, that was fine. Let's do the Feed the World thing. But their marketing, they didn't know how to actually promote rap artists at the time. So we did Queensbridge. We made another remix of Queensbridge. Sounded like total, not the same bridge that you all know and love. It was different. But after that, it was like they didn't know how to market rap. They really wasn't into rap. All they was trying to use me for was their little agenda for Feed the World, you know, and as far as giving me an album deal and all that, that wasn't really in their mind, you know what I'm saying? Because they didn't know what to do with hip hop. It was still brand new. They were still not respecting the music or our craft, so they just, you know, it just became a deal where you go your way and I go my way. So it ain't never got dropped. We just went our separate ways. And just fortunately that I had backing with Cold Chillin' and Ty and Marley, and we were doing our own thing. I didn't have to have a record to get my songs played on the radio. My songs went from the studio to the radio that night. So it was no big deal for me to, get a deal, get a deal, get a deal. You know, because whatever we made in the studio that day was going on the radio that night.
Okay. And so Marley Marl was producing your stuff back then?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Now, what was it like working with Marley, like, during that era?
Well, working with Marley was crazy because I would always press the self-destruction button. And instead, he'll be doing something. I'll be like, oh, what's this? Oh, you just messed it up. But, you know, I watched him from the beginning. He was one of the first to ever sample records. So he had this little box. And just to watch him, he taught me vicariously how to produce. That's how I learned how to produce, by watching him, trial and error, pressing stuff and blowing stuff up on the 4-track. We started, Marley Scratch was actually recorded on a 4-track cassette. And then we moved up to the 4-track reel. You know what I'm saying? Then we got budgets to go in the studio and use the real studio, but the sound that we were getting out of the real studio wasn't as good as that low end that we were getting from in the house off those 4-track cassettes that were grimy and gritty. You know what I mean? It was a lot more cleaner. But we had a sound that we called the dirty basement sound, and we got over with that. You know what I'm saying? I was like, why does it sound? It's the dirty basement sound. It wasn't clean, but it did what it do, because you know it had that extra low end that people like. It wasn't all clean cut digital.
Okay, so you record the bridge, and I guess there's the bridge was getting circulated around Queens, like through cassettes, right?
Yeah. What it was they had a festival in the park. We came home from a show, and it was like, yo, let's record something for the festival. And so what we did was he put on we put up the beat, he put it up, the Honey Drippers, boom. And I just wrote that song off the top of my head. I just jotted down, Jappy Jap, Larry La, Gas. I just jotted down things, and I actually did that song off of my head. Because you can hear the pauses. You love to hear the story again and again. How it all got started way back when. So that basically was just, off the top of my head. And we had it going in Queensbridge for like 2 years before it ever came a record.
But Marley Marl was using what, the SP12 back then?
Was he using the SB12 then? Let me see. I think he was using the Roland. And it was triggered. Those samples were triggered from other drum sounds. I mean, things were triggered then. It wasn't no samplers. The sampler was a box sitting to the side. And when you hit something over here, it triggered a sound in the box.
Okay, so you record the bridge, it's circulating around, and then you get your deal with Cold Chillin' Records, and then it gets officially put out?
The first bridge came out on Pop Art. It was called the Bridge Records, but that was done through Lawrence and Dana in Philly. The ones that had Pop Art that put out Shantae, they gave us our own little label deal, and it was called Bridge Records. The B-side was Beat Biter. So after that, that's when it got put on Cold Chillin', when we got the Warner Brothers deal, because we were like the first rap artists in the whole history of the game to ever get a major distribution deal. And it was through just those independent records that I put out that they started looking like, hey, they're doing something over there. And so we got us a deal. And since there was a Roxanne Shante, a Bismarck E, and we already had a crew forming, and we were out on tour, because if Shante had a tour, you got me, you got Biz, you got Kane, you got the whole crew, and none of them had records. You know what I mean? So it was like me and Shante had our records, but we were going around doing our thing. And so through that's how Warner Brothers said, hey, we want to do this distribution deal with you guys. So that's how all of this distribution came about. We were like the first ones to ever have that.
Yeah. So, like, at what point did the Juice Crew actually form, and who came up with the name of the Juice Crew?
Well, the Juice Crew was long before us. That was Sal Abatello and Curtis Blow and them guys from the Bronx. That was their moniker, the Juice Crew. You know what I mean? That was their thing. And so we were the first branch of the Juice Crew to make records. We see the Juice Crew that you know and love, that everyone knows and loves. We're not the originals. Sal Abatello, that's actually something that started up in the disco fever with Sweet G and those guys. You know what I'm saying? Before my era. We were the Juice Crew that Magic had put together. Magic was part of that Juice Crew fever thing. So what it was, Magic put us together, and we were called the Juice Crew, but we were the Juice Crew that started off making records. But there was also a Juice Crew before us.
Okay. Like, who were the original members of y'all's Juice Crew?
The original members of our Juice Crew, me, Shantae, Craig, Biz, TJ Swan, Tragedy, Craig G. Did I say Craig G? Craig G was one of them. And that's basically it.
Okay. So later on, Big Daddy Kane came. Later on, Master Ace came, and so forth.
Right. But Big Daddy Kane was down with us. Kane's album came out on Warner Brothers first before mine. I was supposed to come out, but Kane was one of the up and coming. So I already had a little bit of status. So it was, they asked, Ty and them asked me, well, Shan, can Kane's album come out first? But this is how we did. So it didn't matter. Kane's album came out first instead of mine. But that's how it worked with us with the Juice Crew. You know, it was like, all right, Shan, your album, you got the first shot at it, but Kane is the new guy. And that's how we were working our crew. If one was on tour, everybody went on tour. You know what I'm saying? We worked it like that.